You smell it before you see it, the dark crust catching, warm wheat turning sweet in the heat. Then the oven finds your face and your forearm close, like a fire you have built yourself. The loaf is round, scored into 8 wedges. You slide it deeper with the wooden peel. Outside, the sky is the color of old iron. It is going to be an ordinary day. This is a master baker in Pompeii on the morning the world tells you was the 24th of August. By the time the sun sets, 81 loaves will be sealed inside his oven, and they will still be there 17 centuries from now. Everything you have been told about this day is incomplete, even the date. Today, we decode the real one. Pompeii, in the year 79, a working town of perhaps 11,000 people on the Bay of Naples, under a young emperor named Titus. It is not a town of marble and senators. It is a town of shops. Bread here is not made at home. It is an industry. Around 30 commercial bakeries have been dug out of the ash, each one a small factory of grain, stone, and fire. The loaf they make is always the same shape, a single round, pressed and scored into 8 wedges before it goes in the oven. We know the shape because the ash kept it. And the date everyone knows, the date in every textbook and every film, is the 24th of August. Hold on to that date. We will come back to it. Above all of it sits the mountain, green, forested, quiet for as long as anyone can remember. The people here have felt the ground tremble before, and they have learned to shrug and keep working. On this street, in a town that has learned to ignore its own warnings, a freed slave is about to start the most ordinary day of his life. You wake in the rooms above the bakery, and the first thing you hear is the stone. The mills are already turning. A low grinding rumble that comes up through the floor and into your teeth, the sound of volcanic rock chewing grain into flour. You have heard it every morning of your working life. You do not hear it anymore. You only notice when it stops. Down in the mill room, the air is thick. Donkey and dung and flour dust hanging in the lamplight, and the sour smell of men already sweating. A donkey walks its slow circle, blindfolded, so it will not balk at the turning. It does not know it is going nowhere. It only knows the harness and the weight and the next step. The patient engine of the whole house. Your right hand in this work is your assistant. He was a slave once, like you, and now he is free, like you. Below him are the men you own. You bought them, you feed them, you work beside them in the heat, and the law says they are yours. The way the mill is yours. Nobody in this room finds that strange. It is simply the shape of the world you live in. The dough comes together under a dozen hands. Water, flour, the leaven kept back from yesterday. You press each loaf flat, score it into 8 wedges with one practiced cut, and stack it to wait for the oven. By the time the mills have done their work, the front counter is ready to open, and the whole neighborhood is about to walk through the door of a man who, by Roman law, used to be property. The counter opens onto the street, and the street comes to you. A woman buying for a household of 6, a pair of laborers who will eat standing up, a boy sent by his mother with a coin pressed flat in his fist. Your assistant works the front, taking a copper, sliding loaves across the stone. This is the top of your day, and it is a good one. You are a small businessman at the center of your own street. You own the building, the mill, the men, the bread. 30 years ago, you owned nothing, not even yourself. Now your name is pressed into the crust of every loaf that leaves this counter. In a town like this, that is what success looks like. It does not look like marble. It looks like flour under the fingernails, and a full counter by mid-morning. You tear one open for yourself and eat it standing, the way the laborers do. The crust cracks. The inside is dense and warm and faintly gritty, little flecks of the millstone ground in with the grain. It tastes of smoke and wheat and the stone that made it. It tastes like every loaf you have ever made. Then the jars on the shelf begin to rattle. A thin clay chatter, cup against cup. Half the room glances up. The donkey's ears go flat. And then it passes, the way it always passes, and the chatter stops and everyone goes back to work. The ground shaking in this town is a Tuesday. But this time, the shaking does not stop, and out the door, behind the rooftops, the mountain has begun to do something no one alive has ever seen. If you are still with me this far in, take a second and hit subscribe, because here is what I want you to sit with. The same event that is about to end this man's day, in the worst way a day has ever ended, is also about to preserve one ordinary lunch so completely that it will outlast the Roman Empire itself. And almost everything you think you know about how these people died is wrong. Stay with me. At midday, the sky goes wrong. Not cloudy, dark. You step into the street and the sun is gone, and where the mountain stood, there is a column of black climbing miles into the air, spreading at the top like the crown of a vast stone pine. The light has turned the color of a bruise. Then the snow begins. It is warm. That is the first thing the body refuses to understand. Warm snow, falling soft and gray out of a noon sky, settling on your shoulders, on the counter, on the unsold loaves, in your hair. You hold out a hand, and it fills with grit. Pumice, light as ash, dry as bone. It catches in the back of your throat. The street is loud now. People are deciding. Some run toward the gates with bundles on their backs, and some bar their doors and wait, the way you wait out a storm. You have felt the ground shake 100 times, and it always passed. You tell yourself this passes too. You have a household. You have men who look to you. You have 81 loaves in the oven, and a baker does not walk away from a full oven. So you make the ordinary choice, the reasonable choice, the choice that thousands around you are making in this same hour. You stay. You bar the heavy door against the falling gray, and you wait it out. You tell yourself you will be back for the bread before it burns, and behind the door, the air begins to change. There is no walk home tonight. There is no second meal, no lamp lit against the dark, no children underfoot. The day does not end. It simply stops. Behind the barred door, you wait. The gray keeps falling, piling against the wood, against the walls, climbing the street outside in a tide of warm stone. The light that came through the high window is gone now. You light a lamp. The flame stands oddly still in the thick air. The breathing is the thing. At first, it is only the dust, a scratch at the back of the throat, the urge to cough it clear. You pull your tunic up over your mouth. It helps, and then it helps less. Each breath asks for a little more than the last one gives. The air is turning to something that is no longer quite air. You do not understand the mountain. No one in this town does. No one alive has a word for what is happening, because the last time it happened, there was no one here to remember. You only know the room is darker, and the lamp is smaller, and your chest is working harder than your chest has ever worked. Somewhere behind you, in the sealed belly of the oven, 81 loaves sit in the dark, round, scored into 8, already done, already perfect, waiting for a hand that is not coming. You meant to go back for them. You told yourself you would. That is where the day ends, not at a table, but at a barred door. Now let me tell you the 3 things almost everyone gets wrong about it, starting with the date on your calendar. Decoded 1. The most famous date in Rome is wrong. You have always been told it happened on the 24th of August. Every textbook, every documentary, a fixed point in history. But look at what the ash actually kept. The victims were dressed in wool, not summer linen. Braziers had been set up for warmth, and the food in the houses was autumn food: pomegranates, walnuts, grapes from a harvest just brought in, jars of wine sealed mid-fermentation. None of that belongs to August. Then, in 2018, excavators uncovered a line of charcoal writing on a wall, a workman's scrawl dated to the middle of October. The famous August date rests on a single, much-copied, much-disputed line from Pliny the Younger. The dirt tells a different story. The most famous date in Roman history is very likely 2 months off. Decoded 2. Your baker was born a slave. The man whose day you just lived was almost certainly born a slave. And the workers turning his mills are slaves he now owns himself. That sounds like a contradiction. It is not. It is how Rome worked. Roman slavery was brutal, make no mistake, a system built on owning human beings. But it was not the same system you are picturing. It was not racial, and it was not always permanent. A slave could be freed, could own property, could run a business, could grow rich. These freedmen were called liberty, and Pompeii is full of them, advertising their success on their own walls. Their free-born children became full Roman citizens. So picture it clearly: the hand pressing his name into the bread once belonged to someone else. This is a horror, but a structurally different horror than the one the word usually calls to mind. Decoded 3. They didn't freeze. The bread did. You have seen the casts, gray figures curled on the ground, and you have been told they are people frozen in their final moment, slowly buried as they tried to flee. Almost none of that is right. Most people in Pompeii did not suffocate slowly under falling ash. They died in a pyroclastic surge, a wave of superheated gas and ash moving at hundreds of kilometers an hour, hot enough to kill in a single second. Death came faster than fear, and those famous casts are not petrified bodies at all. They are empty spaces, voids left in the hardened ash after the bodies inside had long decayed, voids that archaeologists filled with plaster to recover the shape. So here is the thing that stays with me. The wave that killed in an instant also sealed an oven, and inside it baked 81 loaves whole. Some still carry the baker's stamp. Soft bread, the most perishable thing a person makes in a day, outlasted the marble, the empire, the language, and the man. The same instant that ended a city was also an act of preservation. It destroyed almost everything, and it kept the bread. The gray keeps rising in the street. Inside, the lamp is almost out. The air is almost gone. The baker leans against the wall he built with the money he earned as a free man, in the shop he bought with hands that were once owned by someone else, and the room goes dark. 17 centuries from now, the baker's name will be gone. His children gone. The donkeys, the counter, the street, the town, all of it dust beneath the ash. But the bread he put in the oven on the morning he thought was just another morning will still be here, whole, scored into 8, stamped with the name of a man who was born owning nothing, not even himself. That is the strange mercy of the worst day in Roman history. It took the town, the people, the date we gave it, and almost everything we thought we knew. And it kept the lunch.